Hello and welcome to Real Reviews. My name is Jameson Rabbit, and the man joining me this week knows the real name of Baby Yoda, and his name is Mike Roth.
Yep.
Yeah?
I know how to pronounce it.
Oh, well, we know that's an issue.
Yeah, it is an issue. So that's my go-to for not saying it.
Uh-huh.
And there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike does not like names in other languages, much less other species.
That's even English. A lot of times in English, I don't say things correctly. And I don't want to disappoint everybody by saying his real name.
Yeah, no, that's respectful.
Yeah. Which
good.
I usually am not.
So you gotta do like me, you just barrel through it sometimes with confidence.
Yeah, no, I don't do that. I'm not respectful. I'm very apologetic.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah.
All right. Sir, we got some movies to talk about this week. That's why we're here. We're here to talk about some flicks, and I'm going to get us started with our first film on the streaming spotlight this week, and it is a film called 7 Stages to Achieve Bliss from director Viviano Caldinelli. See what I'm talking about?
Yeah, barreled through it. You did good.
It is a film that stars Kate McCucci as Claire and Sam Huntington as her husband, boyfriend, fiance, Paul. And they are a young couple who has moved from Ohio to L.A. to live the dream and have moved into this kind of ramshackle apartment that they can afford. And they're trying to figure out life in the big city when they find out that that apartment holds a little more than they thought to it. Come to find out that there is one of these many cults that inhabit L.A., it seems like. Mm-hmm. And one of them was run by a man named Storch, who was played by Taika Waititi. You see right there. Mm-hmm. Look at that. Who wouldn't want to follow that guy? And that their apartment, and specifically their bathtub, is the ground zero for people making a pilgrimage, followers of Storch, to make a pilgrimage to commit suicide in said bathtub, because Storch ran a suicide cult. And so Paul and Claire are trying to figure it all out, what's going on when these people come breaking into their windows and they have odd rituals and demand to recite books and are willing to...
portion of the suicide.
Right, there's this odd, this whole odd thing, the ritual, and then want to commit suicide in the bathtub. You have Claire, who I mean, she just feels out of place in her office and in life, and she begins kind of starting to buy into the teachings of this Storch. And you have Paul, who is just kind of completely lacks any confidence or drive or motivation or anything like that.
Yeah, he's lazy.
He's very lazy. And then you also have Dan Harmon, who plays a detective in a Detective Cartwright in here, who's been the detective on the case of all of these suicides for I don't know how long.
I didn't know Dan Harmon was from Milwaukee.
Oh, yeah, local guy.
Yeah.
So he's been investigating all these cases, and he's also shopping his screenplay about being that cool cop that solves all the crimes.
Played by Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, right. He wants Wesley Snipes to play him. And so you just have like this comedic cast of people who enter through the window, and you know, Maria Bamford and Brian Posehn and all these stand-up comedians that just come breaking in and do a little bit and then take their exit one way or the other.
Yeah.
It's an odd little film. I'm curious what you think of this.
It's extremely quirky. A lot of parts I thought was really funny. A lot of the movies, Taika
Waititi, yeah.
Yeah, does. It's usually pretty quirky.
Yeah.
And, but this kind of got a little bit acid trippy at the end, and things didn't add up very well. But Dan Harmon as the detective that's trying to shill off his movie, his playwright.
Yeah.
I thought he was hilarious.
He thinks that Kate McCucci's character can help him out just because she works.
Worst detective ever. These people literally could kill anybody as long as they got to the bathtub.
Just get the body in the tub.
That was it.
That's a weird way of committing suicide, by stabbing yourself in the back.
I feel like you could have saved, marketed that one a lot better. Just like, if you have a problem, just bring them to our bathtub. That's it. That's all you have. The characters were unique and quirky. I will remember this film, I think, for a while, but I didn't think it was like fantastically great for the quirky premise that it has.
Yeah, like, I mean, when it opens right away with like a tight shot of Taika up close and he's entrancing you with his song of suicide and just release and all that, like, it's a teaser. I'm like, yeah, here we go. And then that's kind of the it for him.
Yeah.
Until later on when you basically are watching a YouTube video of that same performance again. And so I'm left wanting there. I also thought that, like, that Claire and Paul, that they really didn't have a chemistry that I believed.
No.
Like, I just didn't dig them together.
One of the things I liked about that not having chemistry is the relationship theme, and I did like that. This was a couple that looks like they're kind of destined for marriage. They're like two peas in a pod. They laugh, they have a lot of fun, but later on, there's kind of an enlightenment of what the relationship really is about. And also there's a reveal of some really dark, comical story of where they came from. And I kind of like that. It didn't pressure any further romance in there when there wasn't really supposed to.
I felt like I was left wanting a lot in this movie, like wanting either more laughs or more poignancy, definitely more Taika. Just more chemistry, more something. It felt like everything was so frenetic for the longest time. Like people were coming in, it was just frantic, and it felt like it was really trying so hard, but missing a lot for me. That I don't know. I mean, nothing's funnier than a suicide cult. I mean, that's a good time.
Yeah, and the way they commit suicide is hilarious.
I just felt myself like, man, I wish this was funnier or just something that I could really grab onto.
I kind of liked it all the way up until it got to the last third of the movie, and then it just kind of got a little too extreme, less funny.
It did. What did you give 7 Stages to Achieve Bliss?
I gave it a 3. I liked it.
Now there you go. There's your review, kids.
Yeah.
I gave it a little more lackluster of a score. I gave it 2 stars.
Oh, you did not like it.
It was okay. It was just it was a little less than okay.
Yeah.
I was disappointed. How about that?
You were
There you go.
You had the 2 stars.
I'm being
for
honest. I was disappointed. There you go.
Yeah. It probably could have been okay, but you got hit with disappointment.
I would have been okay with okay.
Yeah.
Let's move on, sir, to our next film, a little A24 action.
Yeah, A24 does First Cow, made in 2019, directed by Kelly Reichardt. Thank you very much. John Marengo, who plays Cookie. He is a cook with kind of an old-fashioned name for a cook back in the days. This is taken place back in the early 1800s to the expansion to the Pacific West. They're located somewhere in Oregon, and he's out there with a bunch of fur trappers. Things kind of go sour. He meets a naked Asian man who's on the run for possibly killing someone, and if they ever find him, they're going to kill him. And they form a relationship. At first, King Lu, played by Orion Lee, he's pretty much using Cookie, but they really do form a really solid friendship. And they end up making a lot of money by stealing milk from the first cow in the area, delivered by Chief Factor, played by Toby Jones. He is an Englishman who likes to have milk in his tea. He has a cow, so these two go out and steal the milk so they can make delicious pastries that they could sell for top dollar back in the settlement camp. I don't even know if you could really call it a town. It's
no.
There's really no stable establishment.
Trapper camp.
Yeah. Your fanciest house besides Chief Factor's is pretty much what you find for wood, slap it together, and there's your square you could keep away from the elements. The story is rather slow. It's based on a novel called The Half-Life, which spans 3 continents. The director and producer were like, we'd love to make this movie for many, many years, but they couldn't find the financing. It was a huge, daunting task. So they managed to condense the entire novel down to the economy being this cow, which is played by Evie, the cow.
Oh, very nice. Good research.
First movie. Evie
debut.
Ever made.
All right.
Became pregnant, decided to retire right
afterwards.
That's
but
great. Very cute cow.
Sure.
You have to admit that cow had charisma. charisma. And
I like the bond that these guys form, that King Lou and Cookie form, as they kind of bond over these dreams of doing more and chasing a dream together, and how they kind of push each other. Like they start off just being successful, selling some biscuits that all of a sudden everyone loves because they don't just taste like flour and water.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, we could do more with this, and we could do even more. And I like that I like their relationship, and they kind of work as partners. But then it's when the suspicions arise.
Yeah.
And when Chief Factor and his captain, some suspicions, and then things happen, and things don't work out so well, and suddenly there's a manhunt out for both guys. I like, because they split up. They both take these dangerous paths to escape. And, it's a bit of a road journey for both of these guys as they kind of are trying to get back. Let's get our cash that we'd stashed, and we can go live our dreams somewhere else where we're not being hunted by people. And I think it's an interesting turn because the beginning of the movie opens with Aaliyah Shawkat's character of this young girl and her dog unearthing a couple of skeletons.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to tell the story. So, I mean, right at the beginning, we foreshadow the end of this movie.
Yeah.
And I think it's just kind of their relationship and how they support each other is kind of the heartbeat of this whole film, even when it's slow in parts. Like, I like that.
I liked how they ended the movie. They didn't have to really reveal everything because we already know what happens. And it kind of left it at a really kind of good moment of two friends, even though if you look back at it, you know the ending. The ending is foreshadowed in the beginning. One of the issues I had, and I can't make up my mind, it's a 4:3 ratio, and I understand why they did it. They wanted to stay close on the characters. They wanted to give it kind of a claustrophobic feel because this is early 1800s. Nothing is really developed out there.
Right.
All the camera shots are pretty much done in the weeds. You see plant life and stuff growing in front of it, which gave it a really kind of 70s feel that I don't know if I truly enjoyed, because this was very much felt like it was inspired by technical ways of making a shot. Vaseline on the screen.
I mean, this is something that Reichardt has done before with Meek's Cutoff, another Western that she directed.
Yeah.
It was another very similar way of shooting a film.
And I can't tell if it was something that I thought was good. I mean, it helped tell the story.
I enjoy it. I like that. Because it's very purposeful.
Yeah.
It's a decision that she made, and I appreciated that. And it makes it feel more old-timey to me.
It does feel,
I like that. Sometimes you have those big, grand, epic, adventures like this, The Revenant or something, where it's like, look at it, it's just gorgeous everywhere. And sometimes it fits because it's a small story, because really this is a basic story.
Yeah.
It takes place over a very short amount of time, and when you explain the story, it's like, a couple guys steal milk from a cow, and then they get chased after because they stole the milk from the cow.
Yeah.
That's kind of the story. And it's like, well, this is really basic, but it's told with care, and I think the movie is made with care as well.
And I think the acting was done fine. I mean, actually great. I think both Orion Lee and John
Magaro.
Thank you. They did a fantastic job. They had chemistry. I love their story. The way it was shot, I wasn't sure. I can't say I really enjoyed it. I don't think it was a bad choice. It's just, if you're going to go retro, I kind of want something different. I don't want it to feel like it's just made by someone else back in the time.
I enjoyed it. I think it was a purposeful, useful choice that I don't know. I enjoyed. I enjoyed a lot of this movie, and it's hard to tell such a small, basic story and keep my interest, and it's not always the easiest thing. And especially to have a villain who, you'd think, you see Toby Jones right away, your eyes like, well, that guy's a bad guy. That guy's played many
He's
Nazis.
Always a bad guy.
It's just like, okay, this guy is already going to be trouble. But it wasn't just like black and white, like good guy, bad guy.
No.
It felt like, these are all just people living in a really rough time right now.
Well, Toby Jones does have a little dialogue that all of a sudden sets him apart as not the guy who's just clueless, but also kind of an evil guy.
Well,
but the way Toby Jones acts, he doesn't really come off as full evil. He just seems like, a cog of evil.
Sure.
I don't know.
You're evil adjacent.
Yeah, exactly.
Curious, sir, what did you give First Cow?
I give it a 3.5. I really did like this film. I just, I didn't like how it was shot. And I understand it's purposeful. It is probably what made the characters stand out more. Being in the weeds also gives that claustrophobic New World type feel. But it just, I didn't get used to it.
That's fair. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I believe I gave it 4 stars. Let's see what the screen says. All right, 4 stars. I got it right. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I recommend it. Go check out First Cow. It's a film that came out earlier this year, right in the heart of the pandemic, or early days of the pandemic, and so you may have missed it. We highly recommend checking it out.
They must have just released it and then I had to close it.
Yeah, basically.
I'm surprised it never went to streaming. I mean, that's the thing.
A24 doesn't go streaming very often.
No,
Yeah, they
even
like to
during
hold them back.
even during a pandemic.
Speaking of more streaming movies, though, sir, what else do we have?
We have Run, directed by Anish
Shiganti.
Thank you. Yeah, I should just point to you and you just shout it out. I'll move my lips.
There you go.
Sarah Paulson plays Diane Sherman. She is starts off as a mother with a preemie baby, and the preemie baby is not expected to live. Fast forward 17 years later, where Diane has a 17-year-old daughter, Chloe Sherman, played by Kiera Allen. She is a young, bright woman who is about to butt into her college career. She is handicapped. She has a wheelchair, and she has a couple of other medical things that would set someone back, but with her life just seems to excel with the help of her mother. She is waiting for her college acceptance letters, and she starts getting a suspicion that maybe after finding some pills that seemed a little bit awkward, that maybe things aren't really the way they seem, and she starts to do a little bit more research. She finds out slowly that her mom has been poisoning her. And this is the Munchausen by proxy story, pretty much. And it's set very much like a Stephen King novel. And they do
There's a lot of nods to Stephen King.
They do.
Derry, Maine, and Kathy Bates is a name.
Yep, and Kathy Bates, the character, really didn't need to have first and last names.
Yeah.
All she was a pharmacist.
Pharmacist, what's your name? Kathy Bates.
Yep.
Okay.
It's like, okay, I know what you really want to be. But really, this has nothing to do with Stephen King at all. It's just a fan.
I mean, it does turn into a Misery type movie towards the end.
It's very much like a Misery. I kind of get that Sixth Sense feel, that little segment with the mother who seeks attention and favor by poisoning child. I liked how this story rolled out, and it did keep a lot of suspense. Watching someone try to escape something which you feel like she cannot escape at all. There's some odd decisions that were made just to make things a little different when I felt like a rock could have done well. They used science instead, but it was overdone a little bit. But otherwise, I really like the characters. Sarah Paulson, I usually don't like her as an actress, but creepy people, she seems to do really well.
Yeah, that's kind of her forte, I think.
It is. When she goes out of that forte, it gets a little bit off.
I really appreciate the fact, so Kiera Allen, who stars as Chloe the daughter, this is her film debut. She is an actress who is actually wheelchair bound. I appreciate that, in that it was a conscious decision by the director to say, you know what, let's get an actress who is in a wheelchair. It was similar to a lot of things in Hollywood of like, well, we're just appropriating things for different, and stars can play any race or whatever. Like, no, you know what, there's actresses who are in a wheel. Let's get one. And I thought it was great, and I thought she was very good in this role. So
all the shots where it looked like she was standing and stuff, that was actually camera trickery.
Could be, I don't know.
Wow!
I don't know if she's actually in a wheelchair. Maybe she's able to stand, I don't know. But I do know that she is in a wheelchair. So I feel like I've seen this movie a ton of times before. There's a documentary that came out a few years back, Mommy, Dead and Dearest. There's a Hulu series based on that documentary called The Act, all about Gypsy Rose, a girl whose mom did not want to let her grow up and wanted to be wanted her to be dependent on her. Everything, a movie that came out a few years ago about a girl whose mom told her she had immunocompromised. She had to live in a bubble, basically.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I've seen this movie many, many, many times.
There's even a miniseries.
Yeah. And so I felt like the beats, I knew exactly what was going to happen in this very early on. Now, having said that, I did enjoy the performances. You know, they still were able to, as the suspicion grew, and even though I knew basically everything was going to happen, the suspense was still there. I still enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And, you know, it gets kind of frantic as things start to unravel as we go along. I like that. I just felt like a lot of it lacked an impact to me. Like, it felt like they were very earnest in what they were trying to do. Maybe it's the fact that I knew everything that was about to happen.
Yeah.
Maybe it lacked the impact that I was hoping for on that. It's an enjoyable film, and I think the performances are really solid.
It is a horror suspense, and really not too many people get clever when it's horror. It's rare when it does, and I always appreciate it when it does.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, as far as horror goes, though, it wasn't. I didn't think it was cliche. I really didn't think they did anything bad, except for the using of science when it wasn't necessary.
Yeah, we don't agree with science.
No, well, science is great,
Wait, okay.
but sometimes a rock does as well as a heated torch and water.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
All right, so Run, which we found over on Hulu, right?
Yep.
What do you give Run?
I gave it a 3.5. I did enjoy this movie.
There you go. Yeah, I gave it a 3 stars. It was enjoyable, like I said, despite the fact that I felt like I've seen this same film. The suspense was still there enough that I was able to enjoy myself along the way. So,
there we go.
Good flick. All right, let's move on, sir, to our center stage segment where we have spent the better part of the last couple, almost 3 months now, looking at the comedies of Mr. Steve Martin. And this week, unfortunately, it all comes to an end. Our final segment of this center stage series where we talk about planes, trains, and automobiles because this is our Thanksgiving episode. It is the holiday weekend, and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, for my money, is the greatest, if not one of the only, Thanksgiving movies. It's this and Dutch at my house. My family, we've had a tradition for 24 years now where Thanksgiving we watch Dutch and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles on Thanksgiving. It launches our holiday movie watching season because both of those are Thanksgiving holiday movies.
I'm sure there has to be more, but I can't think of one.
I can't. But anyways.
Is there a horror movie based on Thanksgiving?
Oh, there should be.
I know. They got all the other
Something
holidays
about carving?
locked out. Exactly.
Let's work on it.
Maybe
Anyways, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, directed by John Hughes, stars Steve Martin as Neil Page, and the late great John Candy as Del Griffith. This is perhaps my favorite comedy ever. Depends on when you ask me. I absolutely adore this. So much heart to it about two guys. It turns into a road trip. Two guys very opposite from each other who get stuck trying to get home, and mishaps ensue at every turn, and turns into this great road trip film that is heartbreaking and hilarious and frustrating and memorable. And there's so many scenes you see right there in the trailer, from the bathroom scene of Steve Martin trying to wash up to Those Aren't Pillows scene. All these road trips, the car rental scene, where there's 75 F-bombs in the middle of this movie, to the drunk hotel scene towards the end, which you start to really find out a lot about them. And the most important thing to me is, the John Candy monologue at one point where Neil is just going off on him and how annoying he is, and I can't handle you, and he gives him that "I'm the genuine article" speech. And it gets me all misty every single time because John Candy is just, we lost him too early, and it's just, he's just a guy whose heart is broken.
I completely agree. This movie was good if they just stuck to the wacky, but it made it superior to almost all other comedy movies because they really hit you in the heart too. When Del has his reveal, that also is
so heartbreaking.
But at the same time, as heartbreaking and inspiring this movie is, it's also still wacky and crazy. And
because it is just
perfect.
a dumb road trip movie for the most part. It's such an easy concept. Like, we just do, two guys who get in each other's way and getting on each other's nerves. They bumble their way across the country. But there's a vulnerability to both guys. There's fun segments. There's weird thrown in characters, and it's just done to perfection.
Yeah.
And Neil learns a lot from Del and has this journey from being an impatient jerk at the beginning of the movie to realizing what's important in his life.
Yeah.
And, Del and his trunk were put in his way, literally, to kind of teach him a lesson, like an angel put in the way there.
I think of this movie every time I see a shower curtain ring.
Yes.
I really do.
It's
like not just one or two times in my life, every time I see a shower curtain ring.
It amazes me how well this film holds up. 1987, this film came out, and it really doesn't feel dated in any way.
No.
Two amazing performances. I love it.
Completely agree.
Ah, that's good.
Yeah.
This is and John Hughes is one of those directors who I kind of waffle sometimes on which of his films I love more than other ones. This is always at the top of the list for me. It's just so good. He knows how to make movies. He should make more.
Yeah. Well, what happened?
Oh, I think he's dead. All right.
That's not laughing matter. That's terrible,
Like
Mike.
a suicide cult around here. Anyways, sir, let's take a look at what is coming soon. The weekend of December 4th. I've got a whole bunch of films for you to talk about. First up, on Netflix, we have a film called Mank, which, this movie was on my top 5 most anticipated at the start of the year. Ooh. One of the few movies we're actually going to get. David Fincher's new film starring Gary Oldman as Herman Mankiewicz and his tumultuous development of Citizen Kane. Cannot wait for this. Over on Hulu, we have Mr. Jones. Stars James Norton, Vanessa Kirby, Peter Sarsgaard.
Counting Crows?
Maybe. Don't put that in my head. About a journalist who was breaking the story of the famine in the Soviet Union in the 1930s. We also have on Hulu Waiting for the Barbarians, starring Mark Rylance as a magistrate in a distant outpost who begins questioning his allegiances. It also stars Johnny Depp and Robert Pattinson. So I'm interested.
Yeah.
2 of those 3 names I'm really interested in. Over on Amazon Prime, we have a film called The Sound of Metal, starring Riz Ahmed and Olivia Cooke, about a heavy metal drummer whose life changes when he begins to lose his hearing. Kind of intriguing to me.
Not as bad as an arm.
No, well, maybe. I don't know. I haven't lost either yet. Just pieces, one at a time. Over on Disney Plus, we have a film called Godmothered, starring Isla Fisher and Gillian Bell, and a bunch of fun cast around them, about a young, unskilled fairy godmother who ventures out on her own to prove her worth by tracking down a young girl whose wish didn't come true. Also, this week, December 4th on Disney Plus, if you waited, Mulan will be finally arriving on Disney Plus for those of you who did not drop the $30 fee at the beginning when it first came out. Hey, there you go. But if you have been waiting for that, that will also be coming out.
I did watch it 3 times, though.
Well, there you go. Get your money's worth. That's good. Before we leave you, though, we want to thank our friends over at Marcus Theaters, The Palace here in Sun Prairie. As we say, the lights are off temporarily, but we do appreciate The Palace and all they do for us. And if you are interested in helping them in these times, I know that they have drive-through events set up and curbside food takeout, as they did during the summer during the shutdown. So if that is interesting to you, make sure to go check out what they've got going on and support them, because we want them to reopen when they can.
Holidays are coming around. You have Black Friday.
Yes.
Go out and get gift certificates.
Yeah, get cards.
Open up
Who
again,
knows?
and there's always great deals on gift
Go watch
certificates around
movies.
the Black Friday.
Sir, next week we're going to be watching such films as Hillbilly Elegy, Christmas Chronicles 2, Superintelligence, Centigrade. There's another one that you told me about that I'm excited for, and I cannot remember the name, but I don't know. We're going to talk about it.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
There's a whole bunch of them, and I'm excited for all of that. But until that time, I'm Jameson.
I'm Mike Roth.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.